Hey guys, this week we got about 30 minutes into our episode and realized that it had not recorded anything we had just said, so we had to jump back in and do a little bit of re-recording, so you'll hear us referencing take one quite a bit. Regardless, we had a really good episode here. Hope you guys like it, and yeah, thanks for checking out the show. Hello and welcome to the Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and work our way to 100% fresh. I'm Max.
And I'm Scott, and today we're talking The Shining, rated 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. And we're pleased to do it with friend of the show, Albert Dubreuil.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so this is where the breakdown happens?
This is it, yeah. Oh, boy. So, just a little peek, see how the sausage is made. We just didn't record a good 30 minutes of talk.
It was a so-so 30 minutes.
It was a so-so 30 minutes. We're going to nail this one. But that's why that was an angry intro from Max.
I'm
he was
really
hitting
angry,
it,
guys.
so
I'm sorry.
I like it. No, it's good. But, so we all know...
all fun and no pod makes Mac a... fuck it. I got nothing.
You know, let's do it a third time.
We'll do it live.
Well, Albert, thanks for joining us. You're our resident Stephen King guy, so
Yeah.
we had to bring you in.
Yeah.
That's great.
He's also been guest writing for our website, thecriticalbreakdown.com.
I've done 2 posts for that, and I've been glad to tweet about them.
Yeah.
And point people towards the blog posts. So, I mean, we want to talk about what I've been watching. That was something I watched this week was The Cutting Edge. Getting into the Olympic spirit, I wanted to write a piece about my favorite Olympic movie, which is The Cutting Edge, starring Moira Kelly and D.B. Sweeney, who never starred in anything as leading roles after that or before that.
I just know their names, but I couldn't name anything else they've been in.
And my favorite part in watching that was realizing that Terry O'Quinn was in it, and I was looking for like nonsense Lost-related factors, you know. And so his name's Jack, his daughter's name is Kate, so he keeps saying Kate over and over again, and I was just enjoying that.
That's
and then
great.
Finally, Kate says, "No one tells me what I can and cannot do," and I just lost it.
For the listeners,
you lost it. That's amazing.
For the listeners, Scott's face just lit up.
I just had like an internal orgasm.
Yeah.
You don't get on this pod. I don't get much Lost talk.
Yeah.
This is great. Forget about The Shining. Favorite character?
I'd say Locke. I mean, he has such a big turn in that.
Yeah.
Locke is great.
Mine's the smoke monster.
Smoke monster.
That's a legit answer, Max. I was a Jack guy, which feels like a cop out almost, but I like the daddy issues. You know, I like the tattoo.
Yeah.
Those are going to make great
The whole
sound bites.
episode about how he got the tattoo.
Yeah.
Man.
Max, what have you been watching?
Well, we're still in Olympic season, so I'm still watching some Olympics.
Right on, man.
I've been loving curling this time around. John Schuster. Is his name John Schuster? Schuster and the gang are doing really good.
Schuster and the Gang sounds like a band.
Yeah. We've beaten Canada, the reigning champs, and we're going to go for gold tonight later after we record.
Are we playing Switzerland? Or I was getting my hair cut and...
I think it's Sweden, right?
Sweden, yes. Sweden beat Switzerland in the semifinal.
It's still Sweden.
It's still Sweden. Great.
Yeah. Still Sweden. That's also a band. But no, and there's this Hungarian skier who does the half pipe, and she does all these crazy... You usually do crazy jumps. She doesn't. She does like a straight ski all the way down. I believe I described it on our first recording as milk toast.
Which, by the way, what is milk toast?
It's a cereal. Let's just keep moving forward. Okay. So
no, it still takes some skill. I saw her run. She was getting air.
She has to ski, and she's kind of just catching the smallest amount of air you can catch.
Yeah.
She participates, so kudos to her. Yeah. She's gone to like every single qualifying event you need to go to. Yeah. Her grandmother or grandfather was Hungarian, so she could play for Hungary. So she has that connection to it. And enough people messed up their runs by like falling and getting points deducted and stuff like that she qualified into like that top 30 bracket or something.
Cool if she medaled.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Do you think she's having fun in the Olympic Village, or is she like ostracized from the other
meme now.
half pipers?
I'm sure she's having fun. I mean, it's like hookup central over there. So,
did she do any like any event as like an elite competitor? Was she like an elite cross country skier or something?
No, I think she's
just a person.
I think she just was this.
You show up with a Hungarian passport and those little ski poles, and you're an Olympic athlete.
Basically got me thinking I'm loving curling. I'm Puerto Rican. I should get a curling team ready for next Olympics.
I've been trying to think of how to become Puerto Rican so I can join you.
Yeah. Well, you got 4 years to get married or live on the island for 3 years.
Well, I'm selling my house.
Well, what about you, Scott? What have you been watching?
I saw Annihilation. The new release
from Alex
Garland, I believe.
Yeah.
He did Ex Machina, which is a favorite of mine.
Wait, is that the same Alex Garland that wrote the book The Beach?
It's possible. I know he's done a lot of writing, but like Ex Machina was his directorial debut, and this is his second one. And he did even film writing. He did a lot as well, and it wouldn't surprise me if he wrote the novel The Beach,
which was turned into the Leonardo DiCaprio movie The Beach.
Yeah, it's the same guy for sure.
Yes.
The movie's good though. It's an original sci-fi movie, which I love. Mm-hmm. You know, and always support. And it had a really cool, an interesting backstory where Paramount just kind of gave up on it because it's tough to market. Like I know you've mentioned how we're just confused by the trailers because they don't know the right tone to strike.
Yeah, the first one was very psychological, and the second one had a bear monster that tried to kill everybody.
Yeah, and both of those factors are in the movie.
Yeah.
So I get how Paramount struggles, but it's interesting that they just dumped everything to Netflix. They sold all the rights to Netflix except an initial U.S. theater run. Mm-hmm. But in mid-March, it goes onto Netflix worldwide, just straight to Netflix. So it's interesting, the background there. But I did like the movie. I get that it wouldn't be for mainstream audiences. In fact, the guy next to me in the theater on the Thursday night preview showing fell asleep. He was actively snoring the whole time. So, I get it.
Yeah.
But the movie's good. I don't want to spoil anything.
Did Natalie Portman do her cry face, her famous cry face?
She did, yeah, quite a bit. A lot of Portman tears.
Nice.
But it also has Oscar Isaac and Jennifer Jason Leigh and Tessa Thompson, I think.
Yeah, she's in it.
Yep. And so it's good, an interesting cast, interesting movie. I recommend it to you both. Albert, what about you? Have you seen anything lately? Any new releases?
Well, the only thing I've seen in theater, because I'm a dad of 3, so I don't get to get out much. I'm going to have to clean the bathrooms tomorrow just to be here tonight to record this podcast.
We appreciate the sacrifice.
Yeah, both times I've recorded it. So
that means double the bathrooms.
Double the bathrooms. Yep. So I did see The Last Jedi, and which I think I invited you to, Max. I said it was like a random Wednesday in February, and I kept calling it The Force Awakens just because I was so excited that I was going to be able to go see it.
So Max picture this: you're just in your cubicle, and your friend starts texting you, "Hey, you want to see The Force Awakens at like noon?"
You're like, Albert had a stroke. Stroke of genius.
Yep. So anyway, I went and I saw The Last Jedi, and when I see films or TV shows, I try to find something I like in it. So I was concerned going in that it was going to be too much like Empire Strikes Back, because a lot of people were nervous about that. I did avoid spoilers because the movie,
especially after The Force Awakens. Yeah.
Right, the movie came out in December, and I was seeing it in February.
I'm not sure how you avoided it.
I avoided a lot of spoilers.
I was in like 18 tweet debates with people. So
yeah, I avoided a lot there. So, but I did enjoy it. I liked talk about the gold dice again. That was an excellent part. So the gold dice were in A New Hope. Mm-hmm. They were hanging from the top of the frame of the Millennium Falcon, and you've got the part where in The Last Jedi, Luke comes across the gold dice when he enters the Millennium Falcon, and he's holding the gold dice like, I remember these gold dice. And the thing about him is that in the Laserdisc version, or wherever you saw the gold dice as a viewer, they disappear.
Yeah.
So this is when I realized I'm going to rate movies on fuck yes. So I'm sitting in the theater, I see the gold dice, and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, the gold dice are this one. And I was really enjoying it. And then when they disappear, when Leia's holding them, it was a huge like, oh, fuck yeah, because they disappear. So they did exactly what they're supposed to do. I don't know. Can you buy the gold dice when they open Star Wars Land at Disney?
Probably like, after that's all Solo, a Star Wars story, you could probably get them.
Yeah. 30 minutes of that movie is probably going to be devoted to the gold dice.
Yeah. Right, like how he got them. And
he'll be back on the casino planet, and he'll win them.
He'll have to beat Lando for the dice, and then he uses the dice to get the ship.
Yeah, and then they befriend each other through that. Yeah. through their moxie, their shared moxie. So how many fuck yeahs did The Last Jedi get? Like, how did the fuck yeah meter compare to The Force Awakens?
Well, I didn't realize the fuck yeah meter until The Last Jedi, so I'm glad
So it's a new standard.
I'm glad it took me 37 years of my life to realize this is how I should be rating things. I'll go back and so I've like I said, 3 kids. They're 5, 7, and 10, and we've been slowly going through the Star Wars films. So they saw Episode 7 first because I thought it was the newest, most exciting one. You know, because all the toys were out. They were getting
their energy up for Star Wars.
And then we went back and we watched Episode 4 and then 5. And I have to pause it sometimes and explain what's going on because there's a lot of dialogue happening.
And because you want to, right? I love explaining movies to people.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just like, and I have to tell him like, so right now we know that Luke is important. We all know that Luke is important, but Luke is like Harry Potter. He hasn't found out yet that he's important.
That's really funny to like to twist it.
So I have to twist it and be like, Hagrid hasn't shown up yet, and I guess Alec Guinness is like Hagrid and Dumbledore. I don't know. Just watch the fucking movie.
You're molding their minds for like the rest of their lives on how they see these movies too. So
it's really bad. And when we get to The Shining, you're gonna find out a lot more. But
when you showed your kids The Shining,
I'll get to it when we get there. But I make a Shining reference probably like once a week to my kids, and they have no idea that that's what I'm talking about. So I would say
options too.
The Last Jedi was at least 17 fuck yeahs.
Wow, that feels high. But I know we don't know if that's high or not, but it feels high.
They're random. I mean, it was like 2 hours and 40 minutes though.
It was a long movie. I was surprised.
Well,
it was 2:30 something, but yeah.
If I think of like a retroactive fuck yeah scale for me, I could think of something like the original Pacific Rim film.
Mm-hmm.
And how I was kind of hesitant to like that movie before I saw it, and then when I saw it after 3 spiritual fuck yeahs, like then I was like, yeah, I like this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the first one was the dialogue with Poe Dameron and Hux, where he's I'm holding for Hux.
Oh yeah,
can you hear me?
I personally didn't like that.
I don't know why I love that.
No, I mean it's different strokes.
And then when Carrie Fisher gets like, I even stayed away from spoilers where I didn't know how much of the film they had completed before Carrie Fisher died. Like, I didn't even want to know.
Yeah.
So when she gets sucked out of the window, and I'm like, oh, this is how they explain how she dies. And then her hand twitches, and she starts moving. I was like, that was a really big fuck yeah, because I was glad that she came back. So, like I said, a lot of people, I'm sure, are beating up even the opening dialogue or the fact that Leia used the Force, but I liked all of it.
It's been a very weirdly divisive movie.
It has.
I know that there's been a lot within the Star Wars fandom that... And I don't know any of it, but like it just didn't meet people's expectations for characters and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's been weird because the Force Awakens is a much less like bold and less interesting movie than The Last Jedi. Like it doesn't, like you said, Empire Strikes Back, The Last Jedi doesn't do the same things, whereas The Force Awakens pretty much beat by beat matches A New Hope. But this one's been so much more divisive. It's been kind of interesting.
It is interesting. It's almost as if it's just good advice to not pay attention to like a fandom as a whole like that, and to just like what you like, and just like you can choose to defend it and argue it, or you can debate it, or you can just have fun with it.
Yeah, I think my favorite surprise was Benicio del Toro showing up.
Yeah,
because when you see Justin Theroux,
you think
he's wearing the lapel pin, and you're like, oh, they got to go get back to him because he's awesome in like The Leftovers and stuff.
Oh my god,
like,
The Leftovers! Did you watch The Leftovers?
I'm like, so this is gonna be great, and then when all of a sudden they just pulled Benicio del Toro out of Usual Suspects and dropped him into the jail cell, and I was like, well, okay.
Yeah.
So that was another fuck yeah. So you could see, I've thought of maybe 5, and what did I say? It was 17. So yeah,
it might even be
probably accurate.
What's interesting that they've established for sure now is that was the person they were supposed to find. Was definitely
that was
him.
The droid they were looking for.
Yeah, and. The thing that Maz Kanata said of him being, she basically said he's like a very passionate lover, just in other words. And they're like, yeah, that's canon. Like they hooked up at one point. And I'm just like, imagine Justin Theroux just like nailing that little alien. That's strange.
Especially when you put it that way.
There's no other way to put it.
I just have a follow up on the fuck yeah scale because I like it.
Leave the goggles on,
I like the scale in theory, but like when you watch a movie like Manchester by the Sea, it's not. There's no fuck yeah.
You have to have an inverse of a fuck no scale then for your really dramatic movie. Like
because
fuck
like
no,
it's a great movie, but it's like it's not gonna have the same scale, So I'll try and think of something
with the Bostonian accent, though. I feel like it kind of works.
Fuck yeah, The Shining.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
What is What is The Shining on Rotten Tomatoes? I didn't even look that up.
87%.
Did you word for word just quote yourself?
Max, what's the plot synopsis for The Shining?
As a family serves as caretakers at an isolated hotel for the winter, an evil presence manipulates the father while his psychic son sees terrifying visions of the past and of the future.
Yeah, good shit.
Yeah, good shit. No, it's
it's a tough plot to try and synopt.
Yeah, it's both like it's a very simple story, but not.
It is, yeah, but it's also very complex.
Yeah, it's an extremely complex, like overall thing. Not just the story, like the film. The film, there's a lot going on. There's tons of layers.
And you don't really need a plot synopsis for The Shining because, it's Kubrick, it's Stephen King.
Yeah.
There's a lot going for it where someone's going to know if they want to watch it or not, and no sentence is going to change that.
Yeah.
But
and it's also kind of like a rite of passage almost. Like if you like movies, you have to watch The Shining at one point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing that I thought of in rewatching it because it's probably been like 4 years since I've seen it, and I was thinking of the range of me watching this movie. The movie hasn't changed.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
So the first time I watched it, I was probably like 16, and you're like, you got to watch The Shining, just like you just said. You grab it from the video store and the Blockbuster or one of those.
Now it's just
Hollywood
Prime,
Video.
the Amazon
Right.
Prime. Now.
But like you're like, we got to watch The Shining, and you're young and you're waiting for the big scare, and you're not really picking. At that time, I hadn't read the book. I think I read the book in 2002, so I would have been 21. So you're waiting for the big scare. You're waiting for all these things, and there's just a lot of weird stuff happening. And now watching it as a 37-year-old dad while my kids are upstairs sleeping, like I'm like starting to feel bad about drinking while I'm watching it, because that's not the right thing to do. Like maybe I should put this glass down.
I get that. Yeah.
So it's I've changed while I've watched this movie, and but I certainly appreciate it more. I don't think I appreciated it as much the first couple times I'd seen it.
Especially if you watched it and you're like, oh, I really liked it, and like you like horror, try The Shining.
Yeah,
it's so different. Like they're both horror movies, but they're so different.
Yeah,
that it would be tough if you're just thinking what we know the genre is now, which is an easy genre to make a cheap, crappy movie of. Like there's dozens of horror movies that come out because they're cheap, and The Shining's anything but that.
And it used to be the haunted house genre was very commonly done. It had its like little period where nothing was done with the haunted house genre, and then it's had kind of a resurgence recently with a couple different options. But this takes that even to like a different scale of it's not a haunted house. It's a hotel that has like this evilness to it. It's not even, you can't even say haunted necessarily.
Yeah.
Like it is like its own entity, but it's
built on an Indian burial ground, according to this film.
Yeah.
They say that during the tour.
Is that from the novel too?
I don't recall if that's in the novel. A lot in the novel has to do with, of course, like the personal demons that Jack has.
Yeah.
You get more backstory in the fact that his father would beat him. His father was an alcoholic. His father would beat him, so he's worried he's turning into his father.
Yeah.
So you do have, I think it carries over where he had at one point hurt Danny's arm, so he stopped drinking. And the nightmares that he's having about hurting Danny is his father, how his father used to hurt him. And a lot of Stephen King's tropes have to do with repeating a line over and over. And in the book, it is, come here and take your medicine, pup. And it's something that his father would be shouting to him, like, it's time to take your medicine. And, that's when he knew he was going to get hit with a belt or whatever.
Get a beating.
And I think in this film, he is saying it like in the hedge maze, he's like, come here and take your medicine. It's just not as definite. When you read the book, you see that phrase like 40, 50 times.
And when you're reading something, it stands out more.
It stands out.
Because there's patterns with
but
it
it doesn't, it comes out in the film where he says it, but you don't really get the reasoning why. So, and that, as I alluded to earlier, is what I say to my son who takes Zyrtec every night. And if he's not in the room to take his medicine, I say, come here, pup, and take your medicine. And nobody gets it but me. Yeah. And it's about a movie where the dad tries to kill the kid. So one day they're going to watch The Shining when they're older, and they're going to be like, isn't that what Dad used to say when it was time for you to take your Zyrtec? And
The funny thing is, so you're also gonna have to explain. It's like in the novel, it's this line and everything. So you'll go out of your way to explain.
Yeah. Right.
You're like, I am copying someone who beat their children,
but only in book form.
Only in the novel. This movie is really a good display of Jack Nicholson and I think Shelley Duvall to another extent, which in our first draft of this episode we talked about a bit, but. Albert, you said Shelley Duvall kind of caught a lot of flack for the portrayal of the character, maybe based particularly in the novel.
Yeah, the novel, the character of Wendy is a lot stronger of a female, and you kind of have more of a backstory about them being a couple. About them being together. In the film, right off the bat, it doesn't seem like they have any chemistry. You can't look at the two of them. Well, she's great casting for her horror eyes. You had said, Matt.
Yeah, that's
horror
what I would
eyes.
say.
And her hipster clothes.
And her hipster clothes. Greasy hair. Looks kind of greasy.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, for sure. It looked like she'd been in a hotel for a month.
Right.
All right, guys, let's toss in one more. Let's just one more.
Burner. The way she holds a knife.
Yeah.
Her
when
Muppet
she's trying
run.
to defend herself.
Yeah, the Muppet run's a key. She Muppet runs better than anyone I've ever seen. Better than Walter from the Muppets movie.
That's the one with Jason Segel, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're caught up.
Yeah. This is where we left off. Is it supposed to be recording?
Right, so
it is.
One more time.
From the top.
No, but like you mentioned, she's a stronger female character in the book.
Right. And that was one of the big changes that, we should mention the miniseries that Stephen King, I believe, executive produced. They cast Rebecca De Mornay as Wendy, who is definitely a much stronger female. That was one of the big changes they made for that. So
I was reading about that. Apparently, he had to sign off, and I don't know if this is true. This is just what I read. That he would stop insulting like the Kubrick one. That was part of like the deal
that King
they
would?
made. That King, because he used to always be on record saying he really disliked it.
Oh yeah,
and now saying instead that it's just not his vision of his story, like kind of softening his. I read that they had to make some deal like that. I don't know if it's true, but it was just in the random trivia I came across. Yeah,
that would be like a '90s deal to make.
Yeah,
like you can make this miniseries, but your opinion has to be softened.
Yeah.
Is the miniseries any good?
Yeah, they do a good job. I mean, they try to stay as close to the book as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a topiary instead of a hedge maze. Huge difference.
What is a topiary?
A topiary is hedges that are shaped like animals.
Yeah.
Oh.
So rather than them just being cool to look at, they come to life and start chasing you around.
I used to get those confused with aviaries, which were just like greenhouses with birds.
Well, it sounds a lot like my glass menagerie.
It's a novel that you're working on.
It's actually a Tennessee Williams novel.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, anybody. So in the book, it ends instead of a hedge maze, there are hedge monsters.
So that that's just an ongoing thing where the monsters are moving as Danny's walking around outside. It doesn't end in the hedge maze. In fact, in the book, have either one of you read the book?
No, never read the book. So
I saw the miniseries though.
Okay, so in the book and probably also the miniseries, since it stayed close to it, I hadn't seen the miniseries in a long time. The Dick Halloran character doesn't die. He actually helps them escape on the snowcat. So that's a big thing in the film. The Kubrick film, for him to make that trip all the way from Florida.
Yeah.
All the way from Florida, like, I'm coming, Danny, I'm going to save you. And he takes the axe to the back, like,
immediately.
Or the chest immediately.
Yeah, the chest.
Right in the old chesticles.
Immediately. So, like, that's, like, because I read the book, and this isn't supposed to happen, just like, that's not happening. So.
It was a single kill because Jack Nicholson used to be a fireman. He's really good with the axe.
Mm-hmm. That actually is true. He was like a volunteer fireman.
Yeah, with the doors, though.
Yeah, I was reading that the prop department was making these doors easy to cut down, and he was just ripping through them because he knew how to do it, so they had to like actually strengthen their prop doors. And Kubrick is very famous for being a very harsh and tough director to work with because he wants a million takes of every scene. Mm-hmm. So the prop department made like 80 doors throughout this movie. I think he cuts 2 doors down, right?
Yeah.
3 doors down.
3 doors down. Lobbed it up there. You're a natural at this. Another thing, though, that I was reading was, I mean, Kubrick was very harsh on Shelley Duvall, but also even like Scatman Crothers, they shot the death scene there like 80 times, and he's an old man, and it was very difficult physically on him. And I was reading that Jack Nicholson actually would like go back at Kubrick and like stand up for the cast, which is interesting. And then you were mentioning on our first draft how hard he was on Shelley
other.
Duvall, right?
What's that?
On how hard Kubrick was on Shelley Duvall.
Albert actually mentioned that, but we did discuss
Just wanted to bring it up again, yeah.
I did mention, though,
whomsoever wants to discuss.
That I thought it was interesting that Kubrick was very hard on everyone except Danny Long, the kid.
Danny Lloyd.
He
is actually a community college professor now.
Yeah.
Do you think he says in like his intro to his class, like, hey, I'm Mr. Lloyd, call me Danny. I was in The Shining. We're going to talk about this.
Maybe he just says, here's Danny.
I mean, I bet he gets a lot of twins, like in the hallway, just standing there staring at him, just to fuck with him,
Yeah.
He's a very haunted man. We should track that. We should start up at where's Danny Lloyd?
Yeah.
We know where he is, but...
Yeah, we can just find him. It's going to be a short
We could just take his class. We could audit his class. Anyways, Albert was talking about how hard they were on Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the making of documentary where she talks about her hair falling out, and they would talk about her like
greasy hair.
Yeah, sorry. And they would talk about her like she wasn't there. Was another thing. Like, we'll fix that when Shelley gets back, and she's sitting there, and like and they're just talking about her like she wasn't there. It's they were really hard on her. But the thing that gets me with her, and I don't think I noticed it the first time I watched the movie, but when she helps Danny escape out of the bathroom just before Jack comes in with the axe, she sends Danny out the window, and she tries to fit out the window, but she can't. And I understand she's panicked, like this is happening, this is bad. But like she doesn't try to like break the window, like she's like worried about the security deposit maybe. Like she doesn't think like, well,
as he's chopping down the door.
Really, all she has to say is like, you go, I'll hold him off, or you go, I'll stop him. And then that's like, oh, that's why she doesn't go out the window. But she's just like, oh, I can't fit out the window the first time. I might as well stop. Like,
they did show that like the frame itself was like jiggly and like not moving. So even if you, you could have broken the window.
Yeah, just try to break the window. I don't know.
But then she gets like impaled on the glass.
Or maybe she showers her child with glass, and that's why she didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Maybe the next time I watch it, I'll feel differently about it. But that really hit home this time.
As weak a character, or as like, not weak a character, like, she's not a strong-willed woman, but she does protect Danny really well. Like, you were mentioning how their marriage never seems like a really nice marriage. But from the start, she's always like very Danny-oriented, and I think it was at least consistent throughout, and that's good.
Yeah, I mean, he has that episode when they're back in the apartment, and she has the doctor come in and evaluate Danny right away.
Yeah.
She offers the doctor a smoke, which is nice.
Yeah,
that definite
for a home visit,
1980 move.
Yeah, she's smoking while he eats a sandwich.
Right.
Yeah.
We did laugh a lot at the portion where Jack had already started having his freakouts, and they're watching some weird TV show, and he's like, I want my fire truck. And she's like, yeah, you could go get it. Just don't wake your dad.
Yeah.
It's like, you've already seen him act like a psycho.
Yeah.
Just don't wake him. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So,
and the hotel is like monstrously large. He's going to be gone for like 45 minutes probably.
Yeah, but the one thing with that I will say is, while it seems kind of funny, that is kind of realistic to 80s parents. Like, 80s parents were very laid back up until like the mid to late 80s. Like, yeah, your dad might be psycho, but go get your fire truck. It's fine.
Mama's got some smokes. She's got a...
oh, man.
Well, let's talk box office real quick.
Okay.
Because one of the things that's interesting about The Shining is how critically it wasn't very well received at first, and then over time it's become kind of a much more popular, at least more discussed movie. But even at the theaters, it did pretty well. A cool $19 million budget, but it made $44.4 million domestic. And I didn't have a worldwide number, but I'm sure they tossed it. It came out in the UK, I saw. It had an October release date in the UK, but it came out May 23rd of 1980. I got some trivia for you guys.
Ooh.
Okay.
This is particularly for Albert because he is such a big Stephen King fan, but I think Max can contribute to this as well. The Shining is the 9th highest grossing Stephen King adaptation of all time. Let's see how many of the top 8 you guys can get. Max, you lead us off.
The new It.
Yep, that's correct.
Shawshank Redemption?
Surprisingly, no. Shawshank is like 15th I was looking at. There's like 70 King adaptations, which is nuts, but...
Can I throw Carrie in there?
You can, but it's not correct.
Damn.
Yeah. Albert, return serve.
I'm just mad that Shawshank wasn't on the list, so I'm going to start naming
It made me mad
random
too.
ones, like 1408.
Number 3, 1408. That's Samuel L. Jackson and John Cusack, right?
Yes. It's actually a very good one.
It's third highest grossing.
I don't even want to say it. I'm trying to think.
Number 2, The Green Mile.
Okay.
Can
Can the Dark Tower be on there?
It can.
Did that do well enough? It didn't do well enough by me. I didn't like it that much.
It is the 7th highest grossing.
7th highest.
Wow.
I'll just give you guys the rest,
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
you got
Wait,
any more
no, I
guesses.
want to try to guess one
Let him
more.
guess, because I'm not going to be able to guess.
I'm going to
them
guess
all.
random ones. Pet Cemetery.
Yep, that is number 5.
The Langoliers.
No.
I thought that was straight to TV.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'll give you a couple. And 2 of them directed by the same guy and very highly regarded.
Secret Window on there?
Secret Window it's not one of the ones I was just mentioning, but it's number 8. You guys are missing 2 that I think are very... They're the ones I know best of this list, probably, that I've seen
Name
the most.
one of them.
Misery.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yep, that's the
Misery
4th
is a good
highest
one.
grossing. And number 6 on this list,
I don't have it.
Stand By Me.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a funny one because it's like it doesn't sound like a Stephen
Yeah,
King thing.
yeah.
Sincerely.
Yeah. But that's your top 9. So I think Carrie might have been like number 10.
Makes sense.
But that was the Scoots Trivia Hour.
I like Carrie a lot. But did you see the remake?
Yes.
How'd you feel about it? It was okay.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I liked that. I don't mind a remake if it's gonna like you're gonna get to see newer special effects and stuff. That is like worth it for me. You get to see these things look a lot better.
Yeah.
So like when they re-released the Star Wars movies.
Yes.
No, for me, it's always like I want to have a fresh experience, even if it's not the freshest story. If that makes sense. I really enjoyed the new It. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but
I haven't.
it's
Going to.
Yeah,
I've seen The
It.
Dark Tower. I haven't seen It yet.
you'll get it in like a couple months, I'm sure. But
Oh, you want to go see it in the theater at noon on Tuesday?
no, it is very fun,
Yeah, it is.
scary, exciting, and it did feel different, but the same at the same time, but in a good
Versus
way.
the miniseries you're talking
Yeah,
about?
it felt like familiar to the miniseries, but then also, I mean, it was just they managed to take that portion of the story, which it seems like it should be how the text originally is set, with cutting back and forth.
From what I understand, because I tried to avoid spoilers, instead of cutting back and forth over,
it's just the childhood portion.
It's just a childhood portion, and they're going to do part 2 with just the
Yes.
adult portion,
Yeah.
which I heard this week they've cast Jessica Chastain.
I heard that.
Is
as
that
well.
official?
I've heard it, but I don't know if it's official yet.
I mean, I mean, I don't know much about the adult portion of the movie, but I mean, she looks a lot. I mean, it's a redheaded actress, so everyone's like Jessica Chastain or Amy Adams.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like there's no other
and either
redheads
way,
in
I'm
Hollywood.
like, shut up and take my money.
It's like Isla Fisher's just like, come on, guys.
But yeah, so
That's my
Spot on, Isla Fisher.
Thanks, yeah.
Spot on.
I'm good at accents.
yeah, I get that. You know, sometimes you want a remake that's familiar, and sometimes, like I said, sometimes you want it to feel different, but also have the same, you know, like basic ingredients.
The new Carrie, the thing that stood out was Julianne Moore did an incredible job.
Yeah,
as
she
the
was
mother.
good.
Yeah.
She was
She
good.
played Carrie.
She played the mother.
I don't know the original or the remake, so.
Julianne Moore played the mother.
Yeah.
In the remake that came out a few years ago, being in her
Like a
50s.
weird
Just
religious.
she did not play Carrie.
Like
Yeah,
oppressive.
very
Yeah.
religious. And that again has to do with, you know, that the father was a drinker, and you know, so she becomes very straight edge with her text. You know, locks Carrie in the closet to pray, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
I want to ask you guys. So we kind of talked about this on the first draft, and I'm going to just kind of rephrase it. I never realized until I watched the documentary that's streaming somewhere called Room 237
I think I've seen it on Hulu.
that so many people have different takes about what is going on with The Shining. So in that documentary, you know, you've got some real artsy people that are watching it, and it's just 5 people, I'd say, that have their takes. And one of them's like, the hotel's built on an Indian burial ground. This is about the slaughter of the Native Americans. And then they show you a bunch of shots of all the Native American stuff that's going on in the
There
background.
was the Calumet brand
Right.
cans. I
Right,
remember
and that is
a few
a
times.
peace pipe.
They have
Right.
tons of Native American artwork throughout the whole hotel.
And that makes sense because it's a Colorado hotel. You know,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. But then you have I'm not saying that's definitely what's going on, but I'm interested in seeing what people see when they watch a film like this. But then you have another guy that's like, that's a German typewriter. This is about the Nazis. And it's like, yeah,
Jesus.
Maybe it's just a German typewriter,
Yeah.
you know?
People just, I mean, you can latch on to any single detail. And like you had mentioned that somebody sees a phallic imagery in the background. If you watch any movie and you're looking for things like that, you're going to find them.
Right.
But...
And it gets annoying in this. And Max, you said in the first draft, you didn't make it all the way through the documentary because it starts to get a little ridiculous where somebody's like, oh, that Kubrick, he knew exactly what he was doing with that.
It's
Nazi
funny,
dicks.
Jumping off the phallic symbol and finding things just in images. There's another Kubrick movie called Barry Lyndon, which the first time I watched it, my film teacher at the time pointed out there's 2 mountains in the background that are framed exactly like boobs. And in the classroom, the teacher was like, Kubrick did that because it looks like boobs. Like, that's just what he said. And I was just like, okay. I don't know if that's true, but I'm just going to accept it. Like, it just looks like boobs. Yeah. So you really can just find these images everywhere.
Yeah, it's like you always see people are like, in The Little Mermaid, like, the priest has a boner and stuff, and it's like, it's just, it's hand-drawn animation. Yeah. Just like, stop. Like,
also, in the next scene, he has 2 boners because it's really his knees popping out. So it's very confusing.
Old 2-boner priest.
2-boner priest.
But you never know with a mermaid, though. You know what I mean? Like, we're all half mermaid, but you never know, like,
where the dick is.
How many dicks a mermaid's gonna need? You know, that priest, he was ready.
Forked tail, forked dick.
Yeah. So I just want to say, what do you, when you guys just watched The Shining recently for this, like, kind of, what do you think's going on here? You know, is it doesn't have, you don't have to say all in on this or something, but like, I have a push on how I feel about that's kind of new after seeing that documentary and then kind of thinking more along those lines and watching it this time.
I don't overthink it. You know, they talk about that last caretaker killed his family and all that. They talk about like the Donner Party and all that. It's just like cabin fever going nuts.
You're an isolationist.
Yeah. I am.
Oh, just like that's your take.
It's the isolation of a clearly, like, Jack Torrance is clearly not stable. Like, they talk about his drinking problems. You mentioned how the character has a background with an abusive father and that he's obsessive over a novel. He has 5 months of isolation with a wife that he probably doesn't like very much, at least in this version he clearly doesn't like very much. And his kid, there's nothing else to do. He just goes nuts. And he's told all these things like, oh, the last caretaker went nuts and there was this and this, Indian burial ground. And then in his own head, he can kind of put those pieces together. I mean, it's not, for me, it's not worth looking for anything weirder going on. It's just, that's how I see it.
Yeah, people really like focused in on like just words, you know, just a couple of words. But then you have the ending with the him being in the photograph.
Yeah.
You know, is it July 4th, 1921?
Yeah. And there's the line that Grady says
You've always
in the
been
bathroom,
here,
like, you've always been here. And then his name is like Delmont Grady, but the other caretaker they mentioned was Charles Grady, which is already strange. But no, it's for me, I don't know if I'm going to be able to word it how I see it right. Okay, so I don't think I've ever had this full interpretation from when I watched it before, because I've seen it a couple times. Once I actually did catch it in theaters at Airsley.
Oh, cool.
Cinemas,
During the retro horror?
Yeah. Our local theater that does retro shows. And I really, really loved seeing it on the big screen. I think if you ever get a chance, even I know you're not that interested in revisiting the film yourself, but it captures really well on a huge screen, just because it's Kubrick. But this time around, I kind of had this weird feeling thinking about like the picture the whole time and just the different experiences I had growing up in not saying that nobody else grew up in a religious household, but just in a religious household that blamed a lot of stuff on the devil. So if somebody was an addict, it was because the devil was doing it. And so for some reason that started creeping in my mind while I was watching this time. So I just had this weird feeling the whole time of like I said, for me, it was like an evil presence was there, like drawing him in. And he is flawed. He is like an alcoholic. He is abusive. He is an asshole. And so he's weaker towards that stuff, while Wendy and Danny are more innocents. Basically, they're not on that same path. They're just people. They're just normal. So they're not as influenced by the evil as he is, even though Danny has like the psychic premonitions. But for me, what kind of solidifies that more is when Lloyd, the bartender's there. To me, he looks like the devil. Like, there's just no way around it. He has a gaunt face.
He's lit that way.
Yeah, like, I think he might be wearing red. I don't remember. Some part of his outfit might be red. There's a lot of red in this movie. My wife was trying to find a red motif.
Every time I was
from then
red.
there.
That's red.
Yeah. And then there's the bathroom scene. But it just feels like he's kind of willingly giving himself to this evil entity, almost how like I was always told as a child that that's how you get into these bad situations is you give yourself to the devil, like you step away from the light kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you always hear like don't let the devil in and all that stuff.
Yeah. And so it kind of just, I don't know how many people have interpretations like that, but it really to me kind of felt more to that side of things. And then once he kind of leans in, it's like you still have the choice to walk away. And every time there is a small amount of choice, like this movie does this weird thing where there's these long lingering shots and fades, like crossfades, are uncomfortably long. So they'll have conversations where Wendy and Jack are like, yeah, I guess. Yeah, no, I know, I guess. And then it's just like a 10-second fade till the next scene, which is weird and uncomfortable.
And if you try to focus in on what's fading out, you can see them start talking again, but they've muted it.
Yeah, and it's just like there's little things like that where it's just like it feels like you're layering deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's just you're seeing Jack like unravel the whole time. So there is like this madness part to it, and isolationism I think does add to it, but for me it comes back to that whole evil presence that he's kind of getting drawn into something that he doesn't want to back away from. And then when he talks to Grady in the bathroom, it's like him accepting it and leaning in on like just being a real piece of shit / the devil himself kind of.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going on with that last photograph shot? I mean, because it's a big tracking shot. Yeah. You go in, do you think there's kind of two ways to think about it, that the hotel has absorbed him and now he's like a part of the hotel? Yeah. Or that it's true that he was there before. You know, he wakes up. Doesn't he wake up at one point and say like, "I feel like I've been here before."
Yeah. I think there's some, and this doesn't necessarily tie to my theory, but there definitely is like themes of duality in the film because there's Charles Grady, who we know of, who killed his family, and then there's Delmont Grady, there's something Grady, Delbert Grady, who we meet, and he talks about killing his family, and like that's weird because it's not the same thing. So either that guy messed up or it's written poorly. Like it doesn't make sense why they would do that. But then there's Jack saying he's always been there, but we know Jack hasn't always been there. So it's like that's kind of a duality. There's Jack being, you know, trying to be a good person and then Jack being like an asshole. There's a couple other moments. There's the twins. That's duality.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that they look like twins, but they're not they're actually twins. Just, you know, like they say they're 8 and 10, but they look like twins. Just like
they're
how
if
you were gonna say that Jack's been there before, you know, and that then he really hasn't. You know what I mean? He's not a twin. It's slightly off. You know what I mean? Just like how they could have just cast twins. You know,
it would have been.
They dressed them alike, but they deliberately made it so it's an 8 and a 10-year-old, and they point that out. Yeah. You know, the duality that you're talking about. I noticed it with the tennis ball. He's throwing the tennis ball against the wall. He's playing catch with himself. Yeah. You know, he's at one point he bounces it and he grabs it and then turns and he throws it, and it's a double play. He's turning a double play. You know, and so I was picking up on stuff
like with the
that.
angle and stuff too, the way they always show a double play.
Right. So he's catching it, you know, tapping the second base and throwing it to first, and he's turning a double play. And so I was picking up on a lot of that kind of stuff. So I was trying to after watching Room 237, I was trying to lean in on some of the stuff that would add to that duality, and I think that's all deliberate, you know, for him to say. I think so. Yeah. You know, I've been here before, and you know, playing tennis ball with himself and all that kind of stuff. It's him like finding, like kind of like crossing over into being, you know, the version that's at the hotel. There's two women.
It's kind of the same woman, but in the bathtub where she's like a beautiful woman and then she's like a hag that's like rotting at the same time. Yeah. Like that's like some slight duality there. I mean, there's a lot of like little weird moments like that just hidden throughout. I mean, that, and you know, it's all intentional kind of.
Yeah, nothing would be accidental or an oversight. I don't think on Kubrick's part. I mean, I think it's cool that there's so many interpretations of the movie. Like, that is very interesting, and it's set up that way deliberately. And I just don't think there's a right way to look at it. It's just how you...
Oh, yeah. And that
that's
always
the fun
makes
thing about it.
Yeah, more enjoyable, you know, the next time you watch it. And it'll be the same movie the next time I see it.
And like last week with Inception, we were talking how... I know I said for me, it's less interesting to figure out whether or not the top fell. Yeah. It's why does it matter if the top fell or not? Like those kind of conversations I love.
Doesn't the whole thing have to do with his wedding band?
I mentioned that theory.
Yeah, I didn't listen to
Cool.
Not yet. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry.
Now the
We'll cut
theory
that
is
part out.
like
I was writing for your website instead of listening to you guys
you
talk.
selfish bastard. Now the wedding band theory with Inception is like his totem is actually his wedding band. He's wearing it in scenes where he's asleep and when he's not. I don't know. I was paying attention for like a minute and a half, and then there's so much cool about the movie that I just stopped.
What's cool with The Shining is if you pay attention, there's almost too much to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Like, if you do try to notice one thing,
if
like
you consciously
like
try,
Jody trying to find Red, there's a fucking blood coming out of the elevator at one point.
Red.
There's a red bathroom. It's like it's so easy to find these things in
And
this
I think
one.
she started because I was like, oh, there's red in a lot of this. She's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Red.
And I mean, and that's I'm not saying that's not intentional because Kubrick probably is, but my example at the time when we were talking was, in The Godfather, there's oranges right before someone dies.
Yeah.
Like literal oranges.
Yeah.
And that I mean, that's a motif. People do that all the time. So
I
there's
believe in the book in this, the smell of oranges is what Dick Halloran has before he gets shining the shine.
That's
before the vision. It's the smell of oranges. I want to say. I want to.
That's a really weird tie.
Well, I guess you do have to in a book like say he either sees oranges or he's holding orange or smells an orange because you couldn't just show it. So,
but it's just because he lives in Florida.
Yeah,
right.
You always smell
Florida
oranges
orange
when you're in
juice.
Florida.
You know the only thing that's not read in the movie? Jack's novel.
Oh, ouch.
Well, Wendy flips through it.
Yeah. Wendy does read
Not
it.
a novel though. It's
Anything can be a novel.
anything could be a novel.
Oh man.
What about the blowjob?
Oh, the dog
Yeah.
person,
The dog
blowjob
bear thing.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. What are the
I think it's just supposed to be
theories?
weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely unsettling, and
Yeah.
it felt like if it wasn't Kubrick, it would feel like one of those people who's like, oh, I'm so random.
Yeah.
There's a dog giving a
Yeah.
blowjob. Look how random I am.
For me, it was like
but
it
because
ties,
it's Kubrick, I'm like, there's something there.
It ties back to the
Dog with the Indian burial ground.
the grotesqueness that they have going on.
Yeah.
It's a weird animal power suit thing. Like there's a power play between them. It's
It's like
a guy
as
in a
close as they got
suit.
to the topiary. Is-
Like yeah. I want to say blopiary, but that's just bad. No, it's weird. And there's we were talking about it earlier. There's a lot of stuff in this film is obviously weird on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
There's music that makes you feel uncomfortable. There's those slow fade outs and stuff like that.
A lot of the even conversations, like shot, reverse shot, the timing of it was just bugging me.
Yeah.
I found something that bugged me in this one. You could go ahead,
But like specifically with that, it's like someone would finish their sentence and then it would linger for another like almost full second, and then it would cut back, and it was just like there was never a flowing conversation.
And I think a lot of that is to put you off, like to make you feel uncomfortable as you watch it. It's intentionally weird. Like it feels uncomfortable because, like you said, they never feel like a happy couple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is they're conversating. Their conversations are just like very awkward.
Yeah.
And they're weird people. And like just all of their like his interview is weird.
Yeah.
It's very strange. He seems so forced in a funny way.
Who drives 3.5 hours for an interview?
Yeah.
This is
And he's like,
this
I'm
is
gonna go
1980
back.
though,
Yeah.
right? Or maybe it's 1912 or
But
whatever.
he's like, all right, I'm gonna go back and get the family, and I'll be back tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
Also, like the hotel closing, not for like 3 months. Like it closed for like
it was
8 months, or
October to
something.
May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a Colorado hotel. Like let's ski. They did mention that though, like about the skiing. I forgot what the
really funny thing that I laughed at, that documentary pointed out, was when he's like, do you have your luggage? He's like, it's right there. And it's like more luggage that can fit in like 6 vehicles.
Yeah.
And you saw the car that they pulled up in.
It was like
And
a bug.
And it's a gigantic pile of luggage. And he's like, it's right there. And it's like, how is that even like...
That's funny.
Why
I didn't
would they
even think
allow
about
that?
Yeah.
Why would you need that?
But the thing that, like, just like the making of how the film works, that bugged me, and it didn't hit me until this time, is the title cards for no reason.
Yeah.
Where it'd just be like black screen, white
yeah.
letters, Saturday.
Yeah.
And it's like
8 p.m.
and it's just like, it's just telling you what day it is, but it's like a month in.
And it never matters.
And it never matters. And it's like, it could be, because she'll be like, it's supposed to snow today. And so that they've been there for a few weeks, but the title card just said like Friday. And it's
like 1 month later, October. Or
it doesn't
something.
say 1 month later, though. It'll be like Friday.
No, but
Wednesday.
There was
First one
one
is a
that
month
it
later.
jumped a month.
Oh, yeah. But
like the first one
like
jumped a
they're
month.
just, completely unnecessary. And I want to flip back through the novel and see if the novel starts chapters that way.
I think
and like I don't know why you would carry that into a film.
I can make for it, and this is just me kind of like shooting the ideas around in my head, is he's degrading very fast in the end. He goes from kind of a jerk to definitely a jerk to asshole to psychopath to like human devil, all within like a week. So as you get closer to that change, it's like more rapid. But I think there's more effective ways than a big title card that says like blah blah.
Yeah, and it's been a month since you last did this. Don't you think it's time? Like there's so many.
There's something you could
1980 movie ways to
like
do
where
that.
you see like the calendar like page flip off or something.
Flip.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
What's interesting too is at the end, like when he dies in the hedge maze, there's no like spring, and then it shows his like face there. It just suddenly cuts to like day. And he's been frozen there, and then people are around, so it's been
so did you guys
5 months or whatever.
I know you research. Did you guys find about like the ending that they changed?
The ending they cut out?
Yeah.
So remind me because I forget.
It was essentially in, I want to say, like the original run, and then they took it out. And the ending was, it added 2 minutes to the film, and it was them in the hospital, Wendy and Danny, and the doctor or sheriff or somebody mentions that they never found Jack's body. And then it goes to the long shot to him being in the picture frame.
Okay.
So instead, they take that statement out.
Yeah.
So I think that
some producers were saying people were complaining that it didn't make any sense.
Right.
I think.
Now it makes sense.
Now it makes. We got it all figured out.
Yeah.
It was about the Holocaust.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Obviously.
So
I had mentioned to Max that like this isn't a movie that I think I'll ever watch again for fun.
Okay.
Like, there's movies like Requiem for a Dream and this, that they're very intense, like, emotional, and, like, even just the audio-visual experience is uncomfortable. And, like, I appreciate and respect it, but I don't think I'll watch it again until we do the Critical Breakdown second run, where we watch all the same movies again.
Yeah.
But
well, this is kind of our pilot run of that by recording twice.
And I'm very uncomfortable. No.
It's that duality.
I feel like I was going to have a heart attack in watching Requiem because it just, like, the cuts.
I've seen that one once and I've never revisited it. So I get what you're talking about.
I saw it once and I threw up a lot.
The Shining, I think, for me, I just film geek on Kubrick too much.
Yeah.
For me to ever not watch it. But I do usually put some breaks between when I do watch it. Like I said, the last time was a couple years ago on the big screen.
Yeah.
But I think after seeing it on the big screen, I'll probably watch it like a half dozen more times than I would have like normally just watched it, just because I loved seeing it on the big screen. I can't even, it sounds so pretentious on the big screen, but it's like, it was just a really fun experience. Yeah. And I think having Jodie like screaming the entire time, like Shelley Duvall, really added to it as well. So
right. So the ghosts, I mean, are they ghosts to you guys? What do you think? Like
when she sees them?
Are they? So you see him talking to the bartender.
Yeah.
Then Wendy comes down the hall to tell him that there's a crazy woman in room 237. And from her point of view, there's no bartender. There's no booze there.
Yeah.
So do you think that the ghosts or the people that Jack is interacting with?
But she never explicitly saw the crazy woman, right? She just said Danny said he saw a crazy woman.
So
and that's who attacked her.
Danny's seen the twins.
Yeah.
Danny's seen the woman in the bathroom. And Jack's seen the two Gradys.
Yeah.
She eventually does, though.
Yeah.
Like, when she's running through the house, doesn't she see literal, like, sheet ghosts in one, or, like, skeletons in one room?
So are they there, or do you think they're
She does see the skeletons, I remember.
Yeah, there was 2 scenes where she
sees the blood elevator, too, right? Or is that just Danny that sees it?
I don't remember.
Because they show that, I think, 3 times, and the third time is when they show it in its entirety.
I think that was her.
I feel like it might have been. Let's rewatch it.
You guys can. For me, it's all just like the cabin fever nuttiness.
Okay.
Like, things are clearly deteriorating with her husband. She's very scared.
Yeah.
She sees weird stuff.
For me, like I said, my interpretation's more towards it's a very fucked up hotel. I do think they have cabin fever, but I think that there is that supernatural element. So I do think
there's definitely a supernatural element.
I think she only starts seeing everything in the very end when everything falls apart completely. When Jack really leans on his evilness, but otherwise, I mean, those other portions, like she never sees the lady. She just knows that Danny was affected by the lady.
Yeah.
Jack obviously is in the middle of his bartending moment with Lloyd, and then she walks in and nothing's going on.
Right.
So he's connected to evil. Danny's connected. He has the shine, you know.
Yeah.
So there is some supernatural stuff going there for them, but I think once she sees it is because like the house is assuming it's about to kill and destroy everything like it wants to.
Right.
Didn't he get let out of the freezer by a supernatural
Right. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was just the storeroom, right? It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the storeroom, and
he was locked in it.
So
though.
he was locked in.
It was Grady,
and,
right?
And that's what it is. So if they're just parts of his imagination, they're not really there. How did the door open? You know. So that's the one thing that happens. You know, because then if that one thing happened, did he really make out with that woman that just stepped out of the bathtub? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if that door opened, did he really have a drink? You know, until Wendy walked up. Like, did somebody really spill a drink on his arm? It's weird. So. And I don't know. I'm going to reread the book this year, and I don't know how much it gets addressed in the book and then the miniseries version of this. I believe that. So there was a sequel to the book that came out a few years ago called Dr. Sleep.
Wait, like it came out in the 2010s, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It is. So Stephen King wrote about Danny being an adult, and he's still got the shine, and it's what like a 40-year-old Danny's up to. So it's called Dr. Sleep, and I believe that they announced that they're making a film out of that.
Wow. Was the book good?
The book was really good, yeah.
Cool.
So I think I want to read both of them again.
That's
and I'll report back.
Yeah.
You guys sit tight.
Yeah, we'll still
wait.
be around.
We'll take a minute. Go ahead.
What else could we have watched at 87%?
Man, this portion's gonna be long because we had a lot of options. So we start out with Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah,
which I haven't seen.
I didn't see it either. I heard it was good.
Yeah, it got some decent buzz around the time.
Gary Gray, I believe.
A lot of discussion on 90s rap afterwards, which is always cool.
Yep.
One we have seen that I enjoy a lot, Gone Girl.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. You wrote on the blog for it.
Mm-hmm.
David Fincher, good stuff.
You like Gone Girl?
I did like Gone Girl.
It's your hometown, right? Well, your home area.
Yeah.
St. Louis?
Pete's
Boston?
Dragon.
No, they weren't in Boston.
They weren't in Boston?
No.
Oh, you're thinking Gone Baby Gone?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so you're
what I'm
thinking Gone Baby Gone, which was an Affleck brother.
It was
production.
Casey, yeah.
So you mixed
Get my
up
Afflecks.
You
My
mixed up
Gone
Affleck's
Afflecks,
and Gone titles.
We're gonna have to record
he
the
wears
whole
a-
episode again.
He wears a Boston cap too, because I remember they made a
Yeah.
big deal about how he in the script he was supposed to wear a Yankees or a Mets cap, but Ben Affleck wouldn't. He had to wear a Red Sox cap.
Yeah.
I was wondering why he gave me that look. I was like, yeah, St. Louis. He was like,
I was like,
was a good joke.
I was trying to figure out what was going on here. Hey, before we started, you told me I had to take my belt off, so I'm trying to figure out like what the hazing is and what isn't the hazing. So I figured
classic
That was a
St.
mistake
Louis
on-
hazing joke.
Mistake on my part.
I was trying to get the joke, and I was trying to figure out what his mistake was.
I'm getting my Afflecks confused.
Yeah.
Both movies are good.
They are both.
Which
good.
did you like better?
I probably like Gone Girl better.
Yeah, I'd say like Gone
I
Girl.
like Gone Baby Gone better.
I mean, for me, it's like point differences here. You know,
They're
like
both
very
really
small.
good. Watch
So-
both of them now.
But
Now.
But no, I loved it. Pete's Dragon, which I haven't seen.
I haven't seen that one either, but I
apparently
remember
it's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's just high up.
it's directed by David Lowery, who did
That's the new one, the new Peach.
Yeah.
Dragon?
yeah, they remade it like
That's
2
on
years
Netflix,
ago.
Yeah.
Over Christmas, my mother-in-law was trying to get me to watch it.
Well, he did Ain't Them Body Saints and A Ghost Story.
Yeah.
And then he did Pete's Dragon, which it's a weird filmography, but
Yeah.
I heard it was good. It got really good reviews, obviously. That we don't need to say that.
Blade Runner 2049.
You guys broke that down. I listened to it.
Yeah. Great. You
So
listen to that episode.
You don't need to redo that
All right.
one.
Okay.
Let's just move on. Life of Pi.
I haven't seen it. Tiger on a Boat.
It was okay.
Yeah. I enjoyed it,
The
but it was
movie
a little
better than the book.
It was that's
The
good to know.
visual experience looked.
Yeah, it was very
I like
visual.
Ang Lee too, so
Yeah.
I'll see it.
Pi.
Wow.
You like that?
Life of Pi and Pi.
Yeah.
They're not related though.
No, not at all.
No.
But they are both kind of. They have some like religious tones to them in a sense.
I don't
so.
know Pie.
Pi is Darren Aronofsky.
Darren Aronofsky.
It's prior to Requiem.
It's his like earliest wider known film. I don't know if he had anything before it. It's a black and white film about Jewish mysticism and the number pi. And if you're thinking, man, that sounds just like a Darren Aronofsky film, it literally is one. So
I like Darren Aronofsky, but like Mother, I really hated Mother.
I hate Mother.
And I'm having a hard time like thinking about his movies anymore because of the level of bullshit I thought that movie was. But
I recently described it as like a freshman student art film with a major release budget. Yeah. And I think that's what endears it to me. Like that's what makes me kind of appreciate it.
That's why, because it's so pretentious.
It is, but it's like openly pretentious.
Yeah, but like it could have been like.
There's no need. There's no need.
It just.
Let's focus instead on Black Swan, which we also could have watched.
Yeah.
Black Swan, right? All right.
Another Portman, Well, no, don't act like you can't edit this where we cut out the dead air. So it's another Portman
I still
movie.
just like the reaction.
You talked about Annihilation.
Yeah.
I realized I made a mistake. I was reading what was on the screen, and they did cast identical twins, but they played 8 and 10-year-old sisters who were not twins.
We'll fix it in post.
Thank you. So, Black Swan is a fine Portman film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine Aronofsky film.
I enjoyed Black Swan. It was fine, but I'm more of the Wrestler fan.
Yeah.
I haven't seen The Wrestler still, but I liked it.
I think we might be watching it. I might have picked it as one of
There'd
my
be spoilers, but you
movies.
did. Yeah.
Anyway, The Wrestler and Black Swan actually began originally as the same screenplay.
Really?
Yeah, and eventually he realized the story was just way too much.
Was the Black Swan the wrestler's like luchador name?
No, but I think it was supposed to be. I think she was in theory supposed to be his daughter, and maybe their stories were supposed to mirror each other, but I don't really know. But yeah, so he started writing it like that, and it got so big that he split into 2 films.
And they're both pretty good, right?
I think The Wrestler's a lot better personally, but some people feel otherwise. Whatever. I think the critics agree with me because The Wrestler's higher up.
Boom.
Let Me In.
I don't know what that is.
No clue.
That is the American remake of Let the Right One In. Which I saw.
Well, hey, the remake must have been good. Let the Right One In is like very well regarded, I know.
So, this one was pretty good. I saw this one. I enjoyed it. I thought maybe one of you had seen it, but we'll just skip.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Wreck-It Ralph.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
I have seen Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph is very good.
I almost watched it this Sunday. I watched The Adventures of Tintin instead. I actually really liked it.
Have you seen Wreck-It Ralph?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
good. You'd like it, I think.
It's the only Sarah Silverman production that my kids have seen.
That's fair.
She plays Vanellope von Schweetz in that movie. And they're doing a sequel this year.
Yeah, Break the Internet, I think it's called.
Wreck-It Ralph Break the Internet. Yeah. It's really good. When it first came out, I think it has like stuff that's kind of similar to like Doom or like those shoot 'em up games.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't too thrilled with that, but now that the kids are older, we're revisiting it, and it's really good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. No,
I'll check it out.
It's a good one. Check it out. Brokeback Mountain. Another one you want to make the kids wait on.
Yeah.
Ang Lee.
Right. We're going to wait for Brokeback Breaks the Internet.
Now, Brokeback is good.
Broke the internet.
It's depressing.
Broke the Internet.
It's good, though.
But it is good. It's very emotional. I haven't seen it since it came out. But
I think it's just, I mean, it's...
You watched it more recently, right?
Yeah, and... I mean, the Gay Cowboy movie, that's what it was called. But that's such a... It's one, it's a terrible synopsis of the movie. But two, it's just like such a... It undermines the movie so much. And like, I just saw Call Me By Your Name as well, which that I've heard people call it Gay Italy. And it's like... It's just... It so minimizes what the movies are.
Yeah, and...
Gay Italy is a neighborhood in New York anyway. So.
But like both Brokeback Mountain and Call Me By Your Name, they probably don't get the due they deserve because of the subject matter. I mean, there's just people who aren't going to watch it or respect it. And
the other thing about that one is it's Michelle Williams before we really knew that she was a great actress. You know, she was kind of still in her like CW, like post CW phase. And then
Heath Ledger, same way. This was his first.
Yeah, this was
right.
solidified him.
Isn't Anne Hathaway in that as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
she's
Jake
like,
Gyllenhaal, obviously.
Right. So you've got Anne Hathaway, like she's after her Princess Diaries phase and like before her It Came True. Yeah. Is that what she said when she won the Oscar? You know, like where people are kind of like a little sick of her now. So
I'm Team Hathaway, man.
Team Hathaway?
Yeah.
I like Anne Hathaway.
Because it gets smart.
She was a good Catwoman.
She's like 2008.
She was a great Catwoman. I like that. So there's other casting there too, where it's like a lot of people at like a nice crossroads in their career.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
It's a
lot of actors really breaking out.
Yeah, it's a moment.
Yeah.
That's what it is in film. So we also could have watched.
The other thing about Brokeback Mountain is like, I'm sorry, just the people talk about it like it's just two guys fucking the whole time, and there's not even like a dick hanging out.
Yeah,
like I don't know. I just it.
It is the first thing you think of whenever somebody says the title.
Yeah.
God, it did get
labeled as such, and it was controversial for some theaters to ban it or whatever happened. But yeah, there's so much to that film.
Yeah,
and, it was based on a
short story
or novella by Annie Proulx. I want to say her name is.
I always think of, it's funny because, I mean, you just mentioned how like people think of like they make it sound like they think of the sex or something.
Like you're watching just like.
But the
porn.
The sex scene that always comes to mind to me is when he is with his wife.
Yeah,
like that's what always.
It's
sticks
more.
in my
It's
head,
a more graphic sex scene.
And then the next thing I think of with the film is always when he finds the shirt and like just like cries with the shirt. Like that's the two things I think of because it's just like more weird, visceral, emotional moments. So I don't know. People are dumb.
Movie.
People are dumb.
Yeah, and it's a frustrating. Oh. Anyways.
Superbad, another movie about male love.
I watched this 2 weeks ago. I don't think it held up that well. Like, I was talking to someone the other day, and they said
our conversation about millennials.
Yeah, was it American Pie? Was like your generation, and we're not that different in age.
We're both millennials,
but you're 6 or 7 years older than me, right?
I'm the top, the front of the bell curve.
You're a top, and I'm a bottom.
And you're the bottom, yeah.
But Superbad is to my age group what American Pie was to. I did not think Superbad was that funny this time when I watched it.
Yeah, when I saw it in theaters, I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was the funniest movie ever made.
Well, that holds up.
Yeah, but I'm glad to see those actors have moved into like more stuff. So
I saw a. Never mind. I can't remember the full story, but Jonah Hill got offended about something. It was like someone tweeted like one of those clickbait headlines where it was like, see how these like dumpy guys land the girl, and it was a picture from Superbad of him and Emma Stone next to each other, and he like reached and was like, wow, like I wasn't expecting to be broken this early in the day or something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen this one, but The Orphanage was an option. It's a Spanish thriller horror film. It's good.
No.
We'll just move on. A Mighty Wind.
Oh yeah,
it's a good one.
Not Max's favorite.
Yeah, Max doesn't like old Chrissy Guest too much.
I'm cool with Spinal Tap.
Yep.
That's where I draw the line.
Best in Show.
Yeah,
You're a dog guy.
I like Best in Show better
Best
than A
in
Mighty
Show.
Wind.
I have witnesses for this. Every time I've tried to watch Best in Show, 5 minutes in, I'm asleep, no matter what.
Really?
I think it's the most boring movie ever made. I'll be laughing at the jokes, and then I'm asleep within 5 minutes.
Wow.
It's like so understated. It like seems to take itself so seriously, and I love that one.
I mean, I get why it appeals to people, but I just can't. I can't dip in. But I remember this one was very popular at the time. 28 Days Later.
I had the Blu-ray in my hand, and I was about to watch one, and I was just like, I can't handle it.
Yeah,
Are we back to Alex Garland? Did we circle back?
Yeah, he wrote this.
Yeah.
A lot of duality going on in this episode.
It's podcast magic. That's why we recorded it twice.
Some more duality for you. Crocodile Dundee.
I didn't realize that any of these were that highly rated. I've never seen a Crocodile Dundee.
I watched this one recently.
Your list and I'm not happy with it.
I watched this one recently, and it definitely has aged.
Yeah.
But it was like a sensation. You have to understand, Australia was hot in the 80s. People loved Australia.
It's exotic.
You throw an Australian actor in something, boom. There was an X-Men cartoon in the 80s where Wolverine, who's from Canada, was Australian because Australia was so hot. It doesn't make sense, but that's why I think this movie is so high up there.
Shots fired at Australia. Australia deserved it.
No, I mean, Australia is hot. Margot Robbie comes from there. I'm cool with Australia.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. It's still hot. But, Chris Helmsworth, Australian.
Yeah. My father-in-law still quotes Crocodile Dundee at a given moment. If you go to hand him a knife, he will say, "That's not a knife. This is a knife."
Nice.
Every time.
Yeah.
You know, like just like it was my wife's birthday last week, and we had a
Happy
cake
birthday.
and Shelly.
Happy birthday, Shelly.
Yeah, we've talked about a couple Shellys on this because of the duality.
There we go.
So, you know, we need to cut this cake. Here's a knife, Jack. And he'll go, "That's not a knife. This is a knife." And you're like,
Does he have another knife?
and he still, no, he just says it every
Holding
time.
the same knife.
And he has great dad jokes, really good ones.
Clearly.
You know, when it's kind of like foggy out and stuff, he'll say it was going to rain, but it missed. Well, that's a terrific
Oh,
joke.
boy.
The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Huh?
In law, the tree in law. So that's the only thing I've got at the top of my mind on Crocodile Dundee, and maybe the scene where he's like walking. Maybe the scene where he's like walking on top of people to get somewhere.
Yeah, that's the big ending scene.
Yeah, I haven't seen this.
Does he do that in parties?
No, he doesn't.
That's good.
I've seen more of the Australia tourism ad
Yeah.
than I have of any Crocodile Dundee movie.
So none of those jokes probably landed for you, right?
Literally not a single one.
'Cause, like,
Though your Australian accent was funny enough to get me there on that line.
Thank you.
It was good.
Man. That's good stuff. We should just do a special on Crocodile Dundee one day. I'm just calling it now. You'll guest on that one. Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on this list because there are a couple more good options here.
Yeah.
The Matrix.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. It still holds up. I watched it recently.
Does it? Because it
The
was like...
CG's a little...
Yeah, this was like early
Yeah.
major CG. And I remember watching The Matrix Reloaded, which is just way worse. But that scene with all the Agent Smiths, that did not hold up.
And this one...
It's a little more
kinda-
restrained in this one.
This one's a much more restrained film, and you know the CG is dated, but it's such a fun, cool movie that like it works fine. It's like I'm trying to think. We had an example during The Mummy where it didn't bother us. It was not The Mummy. But we mentioned another older movie from like the same time period where you're like, you know, that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that.
What has happened to Carrie Ann Moss? Is anybody?
She wasn't she in?
She's been in stuff.
like not the Leftovers or something. She was in some TV show.
She was in The Leftovers.
It wasn't that one.
Was she in... I just watched it, and I don't... Was she in Big Little... No, she wasn't in Big Little.
No.
She might have been in Jessica Jones.
I didn't watch that, but she still does
She's
stuff.
been in some smaller stuff though.
Okay.
So watch it, mister.
Jackie Brown,
Okay.
Tarantino.
Never seen it.
I'd say that's.
I like this one. It sounds weird, but it's one of his more restrained films. But at the same time, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. How many of his films are based on source material? So that was an Elmer Leonard novel.
Yeah.
Called Rum Punch, I want to say. And it stays pretty close to that. So it doesn't get too far off of it.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have too many things that are.
He writes most of his work.
Right. So that may be why it's a little bit more restrained.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is also one of his first movies, wasn't it, Jackie Brown?
No, this followed
is-
Pulp Fiction.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, I
this
didn't
is,
realize.
2 or 3 in, then yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, and that's surprising, especially there's, with Elmer Leonard, there's a lot of, I believe that book, Rum Punch, followed The Switch. So you're in this world where these characters have like a huge backstory and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange for him to have picked up
Yeah,
something
no,
and
it
rewritten
is,
it.
yeah.
But
I like this one. If you want to see it's more substance over style is what it feels like. So
We should talk about a Tarantino movie sometime.
Yeah, we should. It's a good idea.
What's next?
Next up, we got The Blair Witch.
see, that's the one I
Project.
find that hard to believe.
I think it's The Blair Witch Project.
Oh, okay. Well,
Not-
now, at 87%?
Yeah.
It's very original for its time. I bet that's part of it,
Yeah.
like with the whole found footage and stuff.
Yeah.
Now any Tom,
It
Dick,
kind
and
of
Jane makes a
defined
found
that
footage
genre.
movie. Yeah.
So
That one I did see in the theater. I remember.
Yeah.
What about the sequel came out last year, right? What was it? Was it called The Blair Witch?
I think the
Rebooted?
most recent one was called The Blair Witch.
Well, not reboot. Like it's a sequel. They
don't
show
know.
apparently they show the Blair Witch in it.
It's weird.
Yeah, I heard it was bad.
Yeah. The next one we could have watched is one that I keep meaning to buy, but I keep forgetting just because it's peak max. But To Die For.
Yeah, that's Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Is that
The whole premise of the
It's not
film
Gus
is
Van Sant.
is Gus Van
Yeah.
Sant.
Yeah.
Okay.
and the premise is her being hot and then getting people like killed.
Yeah, it's got Joaquin in
It's
it.
got
And
a baby
Casey Affleck.
Joaquin and a
Yeah.
baby Casey Affleck.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They're both funny looking in it, and it's great.
Yeah.
No, but I remember liking it a lot, but I was way too young to watch it when I first watched it. So it's been on my revisit list forever. And then finally, we could have also watched Akira.
Yeah, we watched it. What was that? Last year?
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd seen it. It's good.
Yeah,
it's
really
cool.
I've never seen that.
Live action remake has been tossed around continuously for at least the last few years.
You should watch it.
I should,
but it will confuse the hell out of you, so you'll have to watch it again probably.
Okay.
I didn't find it that confusing.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean,
you are also an adult the first time you watched it. The first time I watched it, I was a kid, so maybe that's why I have that notion.
Yeah.
But
you also were there to explain things to me if I didn't get them, but I like it's a pretty surface level movie once you accept like the setting and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think if you pay attention, like it makes sense. But it's good.
Another one that was 87% was Wind River, which came out last year.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it's very good. I know you're not the biggest Jeremy Renner guy, but you're starting to come around.
I've said before I'm fine with him.
I know, but
I changed my stance.
This is his best performance, in my opinion, and Elizabeth
better
Olsen's
than the Bourne.
Yeah, exactly.
Not ultimatum. Contingency.
Continuum.
Penultimatum.
Ooh, Continuum sounded good.
I don't think it's Legacy. The Bourne
Legacy. The Bourne Legacy.
What
better than the Bourne Legacy.
The next one's gonna be called The Bourne Continuum.
Yeah, let's trademark that shit. Actually, the next one's gonna be called Jason Bourne. That's already it.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne. Max, where can the good people find us?
Well, you can find us packing our bags and driving up to Colorado for the winter. Or you can find us at thecriticalbreakdown.com. We're putting out some fresh blogs. Got some nice content up there. You can find us on social media.
Smedia.
You can find me eating ice cream with Scatman Crothers. Or you can find me on Twitter at Max Rivera Film.
You can find me at a winter hotel ski lodge, not skiing. Or you can find me on Instagram at breakdown_Scott. And you know what? Here's another one. If anybody uses Letterboxd, it's a film diary website and app where you can log films that you've seen, ratings, discussions, lists, stuff like that. I'm on there, Stenin 2.
I'm on there too as Max Rivera Film, but you're much more active than me.
Yeah, I think I've logged every movie I've seen and remember.
That's good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
you can find me waiting in a bathtub in room 237. Or you can find me on Twitter at AW Dubreuil, spelled just like it sounds. Link in the bio. Or writing blogs for the website, The Critical Breakdown, for Max Rivera Film and Breakdown Scott.
It's been fun to have you writing.
Thank you.
Looking forward to a lot more.
Thank you. I'm looking for my next assignment. I told Max, and I was trying to do this on purpose. I said, after I submitted the first one, I said, if you Venmo me any dollar amount right now, you're officially my boss. And I just wanted to see if he'd give me any money.
Did he?
And he wrote back like, ha ha ha, but did not.
I gotcha.
Oh, now see, now
on the
Breakdown
line.
Scott's my boss.
How much is he paying you?
Oh,
I
God,
one.
not that
I'll get
much.
a one.
Here, I'll
He
give
still
you a
needs
$5.
dinner.
I get a 5.
I'll give you a $5.
There you go. Now I think we
I'm a
have to
writer.
file taxes.
I'm
Thank
a
you,
writer.
guys. Thank you.
No, keep it. I want you to keep writing.
Scott's my boss.
We have a new email, right?
Yeah, we do.
podcast@thecriticalbreakdown.com.
Uh-huh.
It gets rid of some of those clumsy extra words we had in that OG email.
It takes 4 seconds to say now instead of 20.
Yeah, which we're really glad for. And then we explain it for 25.
Yeah, exactly.
And then sometimes you have to say everything twice.
Twice.
It's that duality there.
Right.
That's the 7th time he said it, though. Wally's the podcast dog. Our art's done by Josh Rivera. Our music's done by Jason Brown. Albert Dubreuil, thank you for guesting.
Anytime. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we'll have you again. This was
The
pretty good.
podcast's so nice, you have to record it twice.
That's right.
Next week on The Critical Breakdown.
Let's get historical and watch Inglourious Bastards.
Rated 88% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Buongiorno.